NewsNation media contributor Steve Krakauer. Steve, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So what was really alarming, I think, about this report is the split between, or noteworthy, I should say, Democrats and Republicans, 56 percentage points, and that is the widest since 2001. Is this simply the anti-Trump factor, or do you think there's something more behind these trends?
I would love if I think that we so often, there's punditry, not to get meta for a second, that relates everything that happens in our culture to the Trump factor. And I always say, oh, it's probably more complicated. But listen, I have to say I love the Gallup poll because it goes back so long. You mentioned 2001. That's when they started asking this question. They have so much data in it. And I can't see any other reason other than Trump for this massive decline. Listen, you look at the different presidencies, okay? 2001 to 2008, you had George W. Bush. Democrats were still very proud to be Americans. You had 2008 to 2016. Republicans were still very proud to be Americans. And then 2016 happens and the Democratic number starts dipping in a massive way. The independent number starts dipping. But you see, I mean, look, it's fascinating to look at. It didn't have this massive effect during the Bush years in the way that it has since then. So I think there's probably a lot of factors. I would actually also put it at social media, because I do think that once you started kind of organizing in this way where it feels very close to you, but you're also around a bunch of people you've never met before, and you can really like speak your mind and say how you feel, I do think it starts to dip that way. But no, I actually do think that there is something about Donald Trump that has, in a very, not a massive number of people, but in a significant number of people, Democrats and some independents, and actually some Republicans, let's just be honest, it becomes all consuming, and it becomes not just, I'm not happy with this president, but you look at 2024 to 2025, I mean, the dip in Democrats, it's the idea that Donald Trump could win again. It seems like, how could America do this to us? And then all of a sudden they're not proud to be Americans anymore.
Well, there does seem to be a really strong correlation there. I appreciate you pointing that out. There's also this correlation with age. Essentially, your pride higher if you're older, less so if you're younger. Why do you believe that is? We know we've got social media being a factor, this administration taking direct fire at higher education. Where do you connect the dots?
Yeah, I think it does. There's obviously Trump, but then there also is that other point which I brought up, which is social media, the interconnectedness of these two, and which, you could also make the point that Donald Trump he's a world-class poster. Okay, he loves to do the truth socials, and then he's been big on X. I think he's built a team around him that really understands social media. So you could say it's actually helped him in many ways, but it also, I do think, has galvanized what's left of the hashtag resistance by having these forums to interact, to grow, and to frankly get angrier. Whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, you're seeing and X, I should say. I mean, X even more so than anywhere else, because you're posting in such a public way. There's a performative nature to it. And so I do think that with the younger generations, which spend increasingly amount of time on their phones, I'm as guilty of it as ever.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.